So here's the challenge. Take 64 college basketball teams and whittle them down to one champion.
25 games into March Madness, and every last perfect bracket has busted.
Probability of filling out a perfect bracket is 1 in 9.2 quintillion.
Making a perfect bracket.
Not to be the bearer of bad news, but you are never going to fill out a perfect NCAA tournament bracket.
And everybody who does one at least entertains the thought that maybe they might get all of their picks right. But what are the odds of that happening?
Today, I am making the perfect NCAA March Madness bracket.
It's not true. That's impossible.
To do this, I am going to need every single stat possible on who to choose, what is the best option, and honestly, this whole bracket is just going to be based purely off of stats. And the first thing that we need to find out to figure out how to start this is to figure out who our national champion is going to be. Since we're going purely off of stats, we're going to use statistics to narrow down who our national champion will be. Every single national champion this century has had a top 66 offense and a top 33 defensive efficiency. This alone eliminates 48 teams from the bracket and gives us only 20 to work with. And from here, we will eliminate team by team until we get one eventual NCAA champion. The next statistic we're going to measure to cut down the field is going to be a top 33 strength of schedule. And believe it or not, this takes out 8 of the 20 teams. Now we are only left with 12. Next, the team's head coach has had to have been to an Elite 8 before, and this eliminates Nebraska, who has Fred Hoiberg, and Arizona, who has Tommy Lloyd. Now, with only 10 teams left, we look to which teams have over a 33% three-point shooting percentage, and the only team that falls short here is Florida. We've eliminated 2 good teams with Florida and Arizona. Now, the real killer. The team that needs to win the national championship has to have won the regular season or their conference title. This only leaves us with 3 teams, being the Duke Blue Devils, the Purdue Boilermakers, and the Michigan Wolverines. Next, the team's opponent's 2-point percentage has to be less than 47%. And this eliminates Purdue, and Duke barely gets by on this one as Michigan's number 1 in the country. We are left with the Michigan Wolverines and the Duke Blue Devils. And the statistic that will decide our national champion is which teams have 4 players averaging double figures. The Michigan Wolverines are your national champions. So there we have it. The Michigan Wolverines are winning the 2026 March Madness. Now for the hard part. We're going to have to do the bracket statistically. This took me an extremely long time, but based off of purely stats, I went into every single matchup and chose who the champion of that game should be. And it took a long time. It took me probably 3 or 4 hours, but I went off of opponents' 3-point shooting percentage. I went off of the offensive rebounding, and I went off their turnover rates. And the most important stats that factor for the most points when I went in and saw which team was better was their offensive and defensive efficiency. If they won both of these, then they get a lot of points, and then the stats would count for 1 point, and this would count for 2. It's kind of hard to explain because it took a long time, but here we go. We are going to fill out the bracket. Let's put it up right here, and here we go. So first off, we have Duke and Siena. This was a breeze. I didn't even have to look at the stats so much. I did. Don't worry about that, but Duke should be the champion of this game. And this next game, Ohio State and TCU, when you look at the stats, they are very similar teams. And that's how it was with offensive efficiency, defensive efficiency, with a lot of stuff. But once I went purely through the stats, the champion of this game will be TCU. There's our first upset of the bracket. St. John's and Northern Iowa. So this was actually a blowout. St. John's takes this by a mile. The stats were heavily on St. John's, and this St. John's team is hot. They are a real danger right now. And so when I was looking at it, there are an average of 8 upsets per tournament, and it's very hard to predict these, and you think, oh, I'm just going to go statistically between the games. But if I'm going purely statistically off of this bracket, then there has to be 8 upsets. And when I looked at it, the average is from the 11 to 6 games and the 12 to 5 games, there's 8 of those. And 3 of those games typically result in upsets. So this time around, I think I had 1 12 over 5 and 2 11 over 6s. And then every single year, there's 2 upsets average from 4 to 1 seeds. And believe it or not, when I looked through the stats, these 2 teams were very close, resulting in me having to go with California Baptist here. They will face St. John's in the next round. So we move on here. Louisville takes Florida, takes South Florida down. This one was pretty easy. And believe it or not, Michigan State and North Dakota State, that might be a closer game than you'd think. The Buffaloes, North Dakota State, are a solid team, but Michigan State ultimately destroyed them in the efficiency rankings, causing them to have more points. And UCLA and UCF, this UCLA team is good, man. Their stats reflect this, and a 7 seed might be a bit of a rob. They should be a 6 or 5. But it was actually closer than I thought, but in a very close game, UCLA takes this. And then UConn versus Furman. Again, the stats for this was even, it shocked me. You'd think UConn would have really good stats, but really, Furman was up there. We take a look at the statistics, and Furman's not that far off. But ultimately, it is UConn right here. And moving on, Florida will beat either of these teams. I compared them, and they were both blowouts. Right here, Clemson and Iowa. This was a very close game. And ultimately, when you look at it, you'd think, oh, Iowa has a better points per game, and they have a better defense. Efficiency-wise, they're about even. And when you dig into the raw statistics, Clemson is the better option here. They will be moving on to the round of 32. Vanderbilt and McNeese. Vanderbilt blew this team out, although McNeese has a very good defense. And if Vanderbilt can't find out what they're doing, that's the thing. If Vanderbilt still can't play as well, they'll still be in the game because McNeese is not the best offensive team. And when you're playing a team like Vanderbilt, that is, you want to have a good offense. Not necessarily the best defense, but you need a good offense when you play Vanderbilt. So Vanderbilt will wipe the floor there. Then Nebraska and Troy, this was another very close one. I had to choose 2 13s over 4s this year, actually. I forgot to mention that. 2 13s over 4s. And this one was extremely close. This was the game I was going to take, but when I looked into the efficiency rankings, Nebraska was higher than another team that gets upset later on, who's a 4. So ultimately, Nebraska takes that. And then we move on to North Carolina and VCU. VCU takes this. They are the better team statistically and offensive and defensive efficiency, believe it or not. Illinois and Penn, Pennsylvania, Illinois takes this. St. Mary's and Texas A&M. This is actually a pretty good matchup, but St. Mary's will take this. Houston destroys Idaho. We move on. Arizona destroys Long Island. This was the worst matchup comparison I had the whole time. Arizona just annihilated them. A very close game. Villanova and Utah State. This should be an absolute thriller, but the upset here, the number 9 seed Utah State should take it. Wisconsin will beat High Point, although this High Point team, man, in my opinion, I would take High Point, but this isn't my opinion. This is what the stats say, and the stats say Wisconsin. But seriously, High Point is a very dangerous team. Moving on, Arkansas beat Hawaii. Hawaii is also a good team, but can't quite compete with them. Either winner of this, BYU beat. These really annoyed me because I had to compare the stats for both teams, but BYU takes it. Gonzaga wipes the floor with Kennesaw State. Miami and Missouri, I thought this would be a close game. Statistics lean heavy Miami, so you might want to go with Miami here. And Purdue destroys Queens. Michigan destroys both of these teams. They're going to be our champion, which I already explained, but Michigan takes that. Georgia and St. Louis. Georgia took this. This was the closest matchup. Everything tied, so I had to go to overall net rankings for efficiency, and Georgia was like 2 in front of them. It was crazy. Texas Tech and Akron. This one blew my mind. Akron wiped the floor in the stats. They choose Akron. Like, seriously, they should win this game. And then Hofstra. So the thing about this is Hofstra was right there with Bama. The only thing that got Bama ahead of them was the rankings, efficiency, and defensive. And I don't know if you've heard, but Bama lost one of their best players. But again, this is based off of stats, so you shouldn't factor that in. But I had to take one more 13/4, and Bama was low in the net efficiency rankings. Tennessee beat both of these teams, although Miami, Ohio was right there. And biggest upset of the bracket, I clicked the wrong one. Wright State takes this, believe it or not. And then we have Kentucky and Santa Clara. If I'm correct, yes, Santa Clara takes this, a very close game. Then Iowa State destroys Tennessee. So we're on to the round of 32. We're going to speed this up a little. Duke beats TCU. It's actually fairly close. But St. John's beats California Baptist. California Baptist has some insane, I think it's offensive turnovers or turnover offensive, something about them. They have an insane stat. They're like 15th in the nation. They're really good. And that propelled them to the second round. Louisville and Michigan State. Michigan State takes this. And upset alert. UCLA is going to the Sweet 16. I'm telling you, this UCLA team is solid, man. They have really good stats. And although they didn't play the best in their conference here, as you can see, 13-7, they are in a amazing conference, which is the Big Ten. So you got to cut them some slack. Florida beats Clemson. Pretty easy here, looking at the stats. Vanderbilt and Nebraska. This shocked me. Vanderbilt destroyed Nebraska in every single statistic. And also Nebraska just hasn't been playing that good lately. They lost 6 of their last 12. They're not a hot team to choose. Illinois beats VCU. Illinois' offense, man, they're something else. And then Houston, in a close one, beats St. Mary's. St. Mary's is a good team. Arizona and Utah State. Arizona won this really easily. Wisconsin and Arkansas. Very, very close game, but ultimately Arkansas takes that. BYU and Gonzaga. Who did they have? The statistics had Gonzaga winning this. And then Miami and Purdue. Purdue's a solid team statistically. I do not think Purdue is a good team, but statistically, Purdue is an amazing team. Again, Michigan is our national champion. I didn't compare any stats with them because when I went through the segment you just saw, Michigan should be our national champion. Akron and Hofstra, very close statistically in efficiency ratings, but Akron should win this. Tennessee wipes the floor on Wright State. Really surprises me that Virginia was actually very close statistically, and then I had to take one big upset as that's what the history of the bracket says, and this was it. Wright State over Virginia. And then Santa Clara and Iowa State. Iowa State wins that. If you can tell by now, most of the low seeds are being eliminated. The highest seed that has made it to the Sweet 16 is 12 seed Akron. And right now, Duke versus St. John's. Another really close matchup, but Duke ends up taking it. And then here we go. UCLA right here. I have my picks right here. UCLA is a solid team, guys. They should make it deep. And when you look at it, UConn might be a fraud. They haven't played the best recently. So they are an easy number 2, and the Michigan State is a good number 3. But I personally think UCLA takes it, and the statistics show it by a long shot that UCLA is better than Michigan State. Moving on, Vanderbilt beating Florida. You can't be too surprised that the statistics show this after the SEC bracket. Florida got annihilated by Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt's a really good team. Illinois and Houston, it had Houston winning, surprisingly by a lot. I thought Illinois would be right there, but when you look at it, Illinois, they're really good offensively, but their defense it's all right. Arizona and Arkansas, it had Arkansas winning this. There's our second number 1 gone. And Arkansas is another really good team. They are on fire right now. Take them deep. Take my word for it. Gonzaga and Purdue, it has Purdue winning this again. Well, to be honest, I don't think Gonzaga or Purdue is a real threat to taking it. I don't think they're that serious of contenders, but statistics show that Purdue is. Michigan, remember, we don't have to compare because they are our champions. And then Iowa State will beat Tennessee. Yes, they will. We are to the Elite Eight. There are 8 teams left. We know who will take it, but what will it look like? Duke and UCLA, another very close game because this UCLA team is good, guys. They're a 7 seed and they have steamrolled here, but it will be Duke. And then Vanderbilt and Houston, very close statistically. Joking. Houston, actually, it shocks me that it was so close between St. Mary's and Houston, but then they go on to beat Illinois by a lot and then annihilate Vanderbilt in statistics and efficiency ratings. So Houston's going to the Final Four. Then Arkansas and Purdue, as much as I want to click on the hog right there, Arkansas, statistics show Purdue. And look, I know statistics are good, but I just don't like this Purdue team this year. I never have. They never do how good they're supposed to. And then again, Michigan. So I'm actually very happy that the statistics chose these 4 teams because I saw this thing. And recently, I think the past 20 years, there's only been one tournament where 2 number 1s haven't made it. So 2 number 1 seeds are going to make it. That's like a very weird thing. And right here we have Duke and Michigan, and then Houston and Purdue are 2 seeds. And when I looked at the stats, Duke surprisingly beat Houston pretty bad. And then I don't know what the stats would say between Purdue and Michigan because Michigan's going all the way. And then I was also really happy with this result because statistically, a number 2 seed hasn't made the national championship in over a decade, which is a shocker because 2 seeds are very good teams. And you look at it and wow, right here, you have 2 1 seeds, not a single 2 takes it. And we all know that Michigan wins the bracket if you have watched this whole video. And that's what it looks like. We have Duke, Houston, Purdue, and Michigan for our Final Four. Some big storylines here is 7 seed UCLA taking it to the Elite Eight. 5-seeded Vanderbilt. They continue their dominance over Florida, which they just had. Arkansas beating the red-hot Arkansas Razorbacks beating Arizona. You have the 12-seed Akron making the Sweet 16, and some early upsets like California Baptist over Kansas, and then you have Wright State over Tennessee, and then you have Akron and Hofstra. The Midwest region statistically should be going crazy. So there's that. But thank you for watching this video. This is the perfect bracket. We'll see how much that holds up. I might do a reaction video. That would be cool. But yeah, Michigan's winning it all, and not much else to say for this video. This is the perfect bracket. If you want to copy it down, then go ahead. You got the $1 billion prize in your pocket. I'm just joking. But thank you for watching this video, and click down here for more. I do a lot of cool stuff on this channel, and very excited to see how March Madness turns out. This is my favorite sporting event by a long shot, and yeah, very excited. Thank you for watching.